Thank you for being here today for this important, powerful conversation around an amazing documentary, Storm Over Brooklyn, the tragic death of Yusuf Hawkins. And there's so many underlying topics that we can discuss, and we're going to get to many of those today. But I want to start with race. And so here, I want to start with you and tell us about that first time where you realized that you were Black and that being Black is different than being white or Asian in the world.
I don't even remember a time where I wasn't hyper vigilant of my own Blackness. I grew up in a home with a single mother. She was a sexual abuse survivor. So I grew up very aware of boundaries and very aware of what my presence means in the world, both to folks within my community and to the outer shell. So when you walk down the street and you're a 6'1" Black man and you're 12 years old, you're a 6'1" Black boy and you're 12 years old, no one views you that way. They view you as a man and they view you as a threat. Mm-hmm. And just to learn to normalize that behavior or learn to keep a safe proximity away from somebody because they may assume that I want to cause harm to them. It definitely bends you in a different way and it makes you look at life a different way.
You know, I'm biracial, so I was always very aware that the way I'm going to be treated, I saw it. You know, the way I'm treated is going to be different than my darker skinned homies and family members. And so the colorist dynamic in society was always something that was very clear to me. It's not rocket science. It didn't have to be taught. You could see it. But the most direct kind of sledgehammer to the chest was we moved in junior high school from the hood to the suburbs, like an all white suburb. I was the only Black person there. And I became a nigga real quick. I became a nigga that week and every other day. And really got a look into the white world and the white middle class suburbia. And it was kind of X-ray vision. I got to see that they're actually not better than us in any way. They're actually not smarter than us or more interesting or don't have less dysfunctional families. They don't have better dads. They don't have better role models. They just get a pass. They just don't have consequences. They just have, the society gives them patience. Society gives them a do-over. Society gives them a slap on the wrist and a ride home for shit that we were end up in lineups for.
I like that the points that you just made there, and it makes me to bring up the next question that I want to throw out there is in Storm Over Brooklyn, the boys end up in Bensonhurst, which is a historically white Italian community that was not fond of Black people. Devale, are there places or communities even now that you feel that you can't go or don't want to go, or you wouldn't let your children grow? And how do you have a conversation like that with your children?
Well, it's funny to bring up, you know, especially Yusuf Hawkins, and what a lot of people don't understand, that he was the third in that decade to deal with something similar to that, because before him, it was Willie Turks, June 22nd, 1982 in Brooklyn, Michael Griffith, December 20th, 1986 in Queens. And the reason why I know these is because my parents made it a point for me to understand where I was going and who I was going with when I traveled in places in Brooklyn. Now, this is, you know, back in the 80s, early 90s, when kids were still taking public transportation on their own. And I knew that there were certain places, Marine Park, Bensonhurst, Brighton Beach, where if you were caught there at the wrong time, when it gets dark or with the wrong person, it could seriously be a death sentence. So to your former question, which was when was the first time that I realized, like many of these men on this panel, there was never a point in my life that I didn't realize that my Blackness was different and that my Blackness could be criminalized and my Blackness could lead to my death if I didn't behave accordingly.
Now I've got three boys, 5, 3, and 1. And so we know those conversations are going to have to be had. I mean, right now they are under the deception that, you know, everybody's your friend. Everything is great. You know, they're not able to conceptualize the idea of privilege. We're still weighing when we need to have this conversation with him and how we introduce this to him, because, you know, God's blessed us. We have him in a private school with, you know, all of the students are Black, all of the teachers are Black, the administration is Black, you know, so building that, you know, Black boy pride on the inside. But, you know, I know we do him a disservice if we don't eventually have those conversations with him.
I remember growing up and being a young man, not having no kids and saying, when I got kids, my kids gonna wear what they want. They're gonna do what they want. They're gonna say what they want, because I'm gonna raise them to be strong Black men. I don't give a shit what nobody tell me. Now that I'm gonna teach my kids how to fight. Then you have kids. And now this is your heart that's out there in the world. And the first thing you thinking about is, I just want them to come home.
Yeah.
Don't wear the hoodie. Don't wear those colors.
My oldest son at 14, he's like 5'5" now, taller than my wife. Like, bro, you're big. You got black hair. I remember one time I was taking my boys out and it was starting to rain. We were wearing the hoodies, right? We were just walking around the neighborhood. I'm like, you got to take that hoodie off. And he was like, bro, why? It's cold. And I'm like, bro, you don't have the luxury of walking around with a hoodie on your head. You just cannot do that. People are already going to be looking at you away. A hoodie is going to make them even more scared. Police come because they're scared. Like, you have to take that off. And he's like, bro, I'm cold. And I'm almost like, you don't even have the luxury of being cold. Even if you do everything right, you're still in danger. And that's a hard lesson for children to understand. My youngest son was like, bro, people who get in trouble have done something wrong. And I'm like, not when you're black. It's not always like that. You don't have to have done anything wrong, but be black. And to watch him realize, like, dang, this is really sucked. And yes, bro, and it's gonna be like that. And I'm not gonna tell you anything different, because that thought process might be what keeps you alive.
You got to tell these kids and teach them, but you got to break it down where they got to know and keep it raw. Everybody wants to sugarcoat. The society's soft now. This generation, I'm 29 and I know it's soft. Like, you can't sugarcoat. You got to tell the kids what it is. Like, big facts. You cannot play. This is nothing to play about. Like, this is real.
Brandon, you think about the documentary, like Yusuf, like I thought about so many parallels of like just fear of black people, right? The Emmett Till connection to Yusuf, like they just went to Bensonhurst.
Yeah, just to get a car.
Just to buy a car, right? So, and I'm not blaming the girl, but she said she's gonna invite some black guys to beat you up, right? Just that thought, whether she did or not. Now you got just that thought of a white woman might be harmed. When you have black skin and you're a man, the thought of like, did Emmett Till whistle at a white girl? She eventually said, actually, I kind of made that up. She lives her life for the rest of her life, right? She was still alive. She might still be alive. Last I checked, she was still alive, kind of like hiding out. Alive. Yeah, she's still alive. And Emmett, and that, like that goes all the way back to slavery and birth of a nation. The white women so sacred and the black men are out to get them. That man was going with his boy to check out a car, got a Snickers bar, and now he's dead.
Bro, couple that with the fact that in 1989, the Central Park Five was going through what they were going through the same time Yusuf was going through this. So it doesn't matter if you're considered the criminal or the victim. Either way, you're guilty if you black.
Either way, you're
guilty.
Which
is crazy.
You made some really great points around the fatherhood. You just want your sons to come home, right? And so thinking about while we're here, what does fathers to the forefront mean to you?
The narrative is that, black dads are not involved with their children's lives and, they're somehow absent from the home. Nothing is further from the truth. In fact, statistics have said that black fathers, whether they are with the mother or not, black fathers are more hands-on with their children than any other male demographic. So I think when we talk about bringing fatherhood to the forefront, it's normalizing the reality of fatherhood. And then for me, I've kind of taken this on as my personal core value is that I document that.
My mindset is I'm gonna show y'all this is what I do with myself so we can change the narrative. And it's so crazy that it's crazy. I'm not looking at like, we get attention. No, I'm trying to change the world. But it's crazy that it's so sad that black men is looked upon as not there, that this is celebrated. Like, if you really think about it, this is celebrated. Like, this is something we're supposed to be doing.
Exactly how I was introduced to Kier, for example. Somebody modeling joy, modeling love, modeling vulnerability, modeling conflict resolution, modeling affection, modeling calm, self-control, deliberate decision-making, choices, doing it in front of them. That's how we see how to handle it in any community. So that's what I think of when the forefront is actually leading by example, doing and making mistakes and apologizing to your children. Actually really being vulnerable in all things. You can be all powerful and all vulnerable at the same time.
Let's talk about vulnerability. Let's talk about strength. Because strength isn't holding back tears. Traditionally, us as Black people, specifically as Black men, we define our strength by how much pain we can withstand. how much tolerance we have towards the things that are just and unfair toward us. And that's not a good measurement of pain, because you come out of there warped. And then that warpness just trickles down generation by generation. And how we fix that is by nipping it straight at the bud. This is who I am. I'm afraid of spiders. I think that the brown spots on bananas are gross. You know what I'm saying? Golden Girls is one of my favorite shows of all time. I can sing every lyric to Beyonce's Dangerously in Love. Now what? You know, we know that Black fathers can be stern, and we know that Black fathers can be structural, and we get that. We get that whole James Evans archetype. But there's another side to Black fathers that's very playful.
When it comes to fatherhood on the forefront, it's about humanizing Blackness, right? Yeah. If you think about everything that's happened to us in history, if you go back to slavery, Civil War, Emancipation Proclamation, the Vagrancy Act of 1866, convict leasing, indentured servitude, Reconstruction, redlining, Jim Crow, mass incarceration. It all starts with what? Black people are not human. We should be afraid of them. So since we should be afraid of them, we have to put these things in place to protect ourselves from Black people, right? That's all of that is based in that. You dehumanize somebody so that you can mistreat them. Think about when someone has a gun pointed on them. What's the first thing a man says? Hey, I got kids. Ain't that the first thing someone says? Because fatherhood humanizes people. So when you think of fatherhoods in the forefront and Black men being fathers, now people got to start to think back, well, this man is a father. How can we do the things that we're doing to him if he has children? If he has a woman that he loves to bring people into the world? It's so sad that at this point in our lives, we still have to find ways to humanize ourselves. Yeah. But fatherhood is the best way to do it.
Absolutely, gentlemen. You know, checking our patriarchy and our prejudices at the door is so important. But I thank you all for taking part in this conversation, Fathers to the Forefront, talking about Storm Over Brooklyn. I'm excited to get this content out there so people can see that this is what Black men talk about when we get together, and how we want to be better for ourselves, for our community, for our families. So again, thank you.
Thank each and every one of you.
Appreciate you, Brandon.